I love Farhan 3. Please subscribe.
I love Farhan 3. Please subscribe.
I love Farhan 3. Please subscribe to him.
I love Farhan 3.
I love Farhan 3. Please subscribe.
I love Farhan 3. Please subscribe.
I love Farhan 3. Please subscribe.
Farhan 3, please subscribe.
I love Farhan 3. Please subscribe.
I love Farhan 3. Please subscribe.
Okay, 1, 2, 3. What is up guys, Farhan here with my friend Hadiy once again at Auto Exchange. And Hadiy, any bike for me or not? You want me to review, help you push?
Actually, babe, after your review, right, I got a lot of response. I'm out of bike. I only left with MX King, Kapcai bike, bro.
Alamak, I don't like Kapcai sah bro.
Too bad, man. Can.
Okay lah, I take it lah. I do the review lah.
Okay.
Thanks. Okay lah, let's go. What is up guys, Farhan here, and today we have another bike review for you. This is the ultimate review of the Yamaha MX King. Made in and mostly for the Indonesian market, the Yamaha MX King is a popular underbone bike. It is identical to the Yamaha Jupiter MX and uses the T150 platform that most Yamaha underbone bikes are based on. Engine is a 150cc liquid-cooled 4-stroke SOHC with fuel injection and a 5-speed manual transmission. In Singapore, the Yamaha MX King can be commonly seen alongside its T150 cousins on the streets. Okay guys, so we're gonna get started with the riding review of the Yamaha MX King. And starting it up, typical of a standard motorcycle. Currently in Toa Payoh now. Once again, we start off with city riding with the Yamaha MX King. So doing my research on the Yamaha MX King, the Yamaha MX King is actually originated from Indonesia. But for this bike, this actually shares the same platform as the Sniper 150, which is sold in Singapore. Also the famous Waisuku in Malaysia, the Jupiter MX, which is also sold in Indonesia alongside this bike. It uses the same T150 platform from Yamaha, similar to what GM is doing for their cars and also their marquees. I mean, different brands, basically the same chassis, the same components, but different styling lah. And for the T150 series, it uses the same platform but different names and mostly different cosmetic differences lah. I was wondering why Yamaha did this. I mean, why couldn't they just sell, a single T150 underbone bike and sell it all over the world, And I conclude that Yamaha is trying to build some sort of loyalty to the respective markets. You see, because the variations of this bike are sold in only certain countries, such as the Sniper 150, which is sold in Singapore and the Philippines, and the MX King and the Jupiter MX is sold in Indonesia, Malaysia, Waisuku, and the Exciter 150 in Vietnam. Because Yamaha has factories in those home markets making this same bike despite being and using the same platform, some sort to build some sort of model or brand loyalty with the respective markets lah. So that's why I think Yamaha uses different names for different markets. And cosmetically, the Yamaha MX King is slightly different from the Sniper 150. I mean, I parked this bike next to a Yamaha Sniper, and there are cosmetic differences lah. I mean, although the cover set is almost the same, the digital gauge cluster is different and all that. Slightly different cover set. This bike, I think the cover set used to bear the Monster Energy MotoGP livery lah. And most of the stickers have been removed, so that's why it's very plain, as you can see on this bike. In Southeast Asia in particular, they do anything and everything with it. They go off-road with it, they treat it as a food truck, use like this for dispatch, transport, and some of the countries, like, the laws aren't that strict, right? They use it to transport the families around. I mean, there's so much utility in an underbone bike. I mean, this one video is probably not enough for me to talk about it. For me, we are going to talk about the Singaporean market in general and how these Kapcais are doing currently in the small market lah. I mean, and it's interesting to note that the Yamaha MX King is actually not available in Singapore. This is parallel import. The Yamaha Hong Leong did not bring in this bike. Instead, they brought in the Sniper 150. Definitely, the support lies with the individual workshops that bring in this bike lah. But Being a Kapcai, I don't think there's any shortage of parts and support because, like I said, it shares the same components as the Sniper 150. You need to worry about, you know, parts unavailability or whatsoever. I mean, even the engine, they use the same engine. As with the MX King, they also brought in the Jupiter MX, which is, you know, virtually the same bike. That it's almost virtually the same bike with a different name, the Jupiter MX. So I find it really weird that Indonesia has two variations of the same bike, but I think it has a different cover set lah. So there are subtle cosmetic differences among the two, and also with the other Yamaha Kapcais that uses the T150 platform. I hope you guys will forgive me for saying this lah, but then why I don't like Kapcais is because I think Kapcais, I don't really fancy the design lah. It looks somewhat like a scooter, but it looks cheap. It looks so fragile, you know, this Kapcai. So that's why I don't really fancy Kapcais that much lah. But after riding the MX King for, you know, for 5 days now, I think it's okay lah. It's not too bad, but I wouldn't want to get one. And as you guys know, Za wants me to do a 1 week Kapcai challenge, and he actually didn't want me to do it on this bike. He wanted me to do it on a Honda Wave, which is they have the GP shift, so it's gonna be a bit confusing for me lah. And I'm not sure how the Honda Wave would handle, but we shall try and see lah. Very suitable on low speeds, very light, very nimble bike. Speed, acceleration wise, pickup is standard. It's not underpowered. It's okay lah, not too bad lah. I think it's on par with the Yamaha MT-15. And you have to comment about the handling and the nimbleness of the Yamaha MX King or Kapcais in general. They're very light, very small. I mean, you can do a U-turn very easily with it. You don't even need to put your foot down. The operation of the Yamaha MX King is similar to any other standard motorcycle. I think for me it's pretty easy to adapt. There's a clutch on this bike, unlike some of the Kapcais, it doesn't feature a clutch. I think that is much more convenient, but I would prefer something with a clutch. You know, I want my right hand to actually grab onto something. And you can lane split in between cars very easily like this. Small space right here, given the Kapcai's size, you know. This will definitely do well in traffic jam. You can lane split easily, no frills, fuss free. Not too much electronics on this, mostly mechanical components other than the digital gauge cluster. That's probably the only modern thing I can see on this bike. I mean, the T150 platform has been in production since 2015, so it's like 10 years old now. And over the years, there have been very different variations that respective markets has released. But my main issue with this bike is the small fuel tank, 5.2 liters. I think I was able to go at a range of 180 plus before the low fuel indicator started to blink. So I know that it's a small bike, but then I feel as if it could, you know, the fuel tank could be bigger lah. I think you can increase the fuel capacity by using aftermarket parts or accessories, but I'm not too sure about whether it's legal or not in Singapore. Speaking of accessories and aftermarket modifications, right? Being a Kapcai, being a very popular platform in Southeast Asia, there is no shortage of parts and accessories lah. This bike, you want to modify until no tomorrow, I think you can do it. No qualms in that lah. I mean, I have seen pictures on the internet, and even in Malaysia also, they modify the Kapcai until they can ramp it, you know. They can go very fast. They change the engine block, you know, put a bigger piston in there and do anything and everything to make the bike go faster. There's even an official racing series in Malaysia, you know, where they race Kapcais. And for a little bike like this, there's really a huge market for it lah, overseas especially. And interesting to note, this T150 platform, the Yamaha X1R doesn't use it. However, it shares the same engine, which is why earlier I mentioned Johnson's bike, right? The Yamaha X1R is actually its own model. It's not related to T150 series of bikes. And nowadays in Singapore, you can really see the population of the Kapcais is shrinking, and scooters especially have been on the rise, like the Aerox, the NMAX, the ADV 150, the PCX. I think nowadays people are lazy to change gear. A scooter, very easy operation, just twist and go. I wouldn't say that Kapcai has become obscure or rare, but nowadays you can really see scooters are getting more and more, but the Kapcai is not as much as those previous years when I first started out riding motorcycles. Being a cheap motorcycle, a cheap in a sense whereby it's supposed to be affordable to the masses. Don't expect tip top quality on this lah. I mean, they never really hide the fact there's plastics everywhere, but I could improve lah, I must say lah, it could improve. Once again, acceleration pretty standard for a class 2B. Okay lah, I was saying right now I think it's above average personally, and going at 90 now, it maintains speed very well. But given that there's no windshield, and given that you're sitting upright right now, it doesn't cut through the wind very well, and you do feel that you're going quite fast, even though you're at 84. And I feel that this bike can actually go much faster, given its weight and its somewhat powerful engine. This bike can even go faster. I mean, I've seen reviews online, and that some of the riders, they whack this until 140, 150. If you were to modify it, you can even go faster. And speaking of modified, I think there is no limit to what you can do with the T150 series of bikes lah. The only limit you have is imagination and money. So that's why they modify their bikes until no tomorrow. I think can even rack up to the thousands, Acceleration pretty good, almost like the MT-15. And speaking of the MT-15, right, upcoming models of the T150 series, they're gonna use the famed Yamaha 155cc motor with VVA, variable valve actuator. I think that is gonna provide better performance, higher top speed. It will be on par with the mainstream Yamaha bikes, such as the MT-15 and the R15. But other than not cutting through the wind very well, it performs really decent on the highway. And yeah guys, it feels as if it wants to go much faster than this, but unfortunately I have to stick to the speed limit. Wheels in the corners very well. Once again, very nimble, very agile. I must say that after 5 days with MX King, I kind of fall in love with it lah, even though I don't like Kapcai. But for me, if I were to get the MX King, right, or the Sniper 150, since it's in Singapore, right, I will wait for the 155cc variation to come in lah, because that one uses the same engine as the R15 and the MT-15. So I think that will provide even better performance, because as proven with my review of the Yamaha MT-15. But I have a feeling that when you stick the MT-15 engine in it, it's gonna perform much better. And yeah, I'm gonna give you guys my conclusion of the Yamaha MX King. Okay guys, so I hope you guys can hear me despite the wind blowing. I have the dead cat on my left mic right now. So 5 days with the Yamaha MX King, and I thought I'd give my conclusion on it. So as said before, platform is shared with other Yamaha underbone bikes, the T150. What I like about it is that it's a simple, lightweight and fun bike to ride lah. Best handling, very agile and very nimble. You can't go wrong with this. The handling is very superb, takes in corners very well. Goes straight in between cars without any issues, even those very tight spots, but I wouldn't recommend that lah for safety purposes. The Yamaha MX King is a really good handling bike. It's a great handling bike, I would say. So cheap, ranging for 9,800 to 10k for brand new. This is based on research I've did on Carousel and a couple of bike shops that are coming out. They are selling the MX King, brand new by the way. And for used ones, 5 to 6k depending on the number of years of COE left lah, of course, definitely. Because bikes in Singapore, generally the value is usually pegged to the COE of the bike lah. Lots of aftermarket accessories, so the Yamaha MX King, based on the T150 platform, it has a lot of accessories, internal, external, everything. You cannot go wrong with this lah. I mean, accessories, you can customize it to your heart's content. You can modify every single component you can. Make sure in inspection you pass, of course. Small and compact, so no problem with finding any parking spaces with this bike, or even squeezing in between cars, as I said before. And good fuel economy. Based on my riding for the past 5 days with this, managed to ride it until the fuel indicator blinked 181. I think it's able to go more than that, but I had to just fill it up before I do my usual things. On paper, it has a 4.2 litre fuel tank with a consumption of 49.8 per litre. And with that, doing my calculation, there's a total projected mileage of 209.16 km. So with that kind of stats, right, it's really fuel saving lah, this bike. And next comes the cons of this bike. So no official manufacturer support, because this bike isn't brought in by Hongleong Yamaha. Once again, it's brought in by the individual workshops. Hongleong, however, brings in the Yamaha Sniper 150, and then again they share the same platform. So I think parts wise, with the Sniper 150 and the MX King, they are interchangeable. Small fuel tank, 4.2 liters, I think it's quite small lah. I mean, I think if the borders were to open, you were to go to Johor and make a fuel run, it's not really worth it lah, I think. Can get poisoned easily with the wide range of accessories available for the MX King, and since it's shared with the other T150 series of underbone bikes, you can get spoiled really easily lah. I've seen riders that have this Kapcai bike, they really modify to their heart's content. Cheap build quality. I mean, you can really see when you look at the bike. I mean, it's really cheap plastics everywhere, very flimsy construction. You can almost see that certain things have been cheapened out lah, you know. And final thoughts, for me, if I were to get a Kapcai, I would rather get the Sniper 150, because the Sniper 150 is meant for the Singaporean market. It's brought in by Hongleong Yamaha. The Sniper 150 has the manufacturer support as opposed to the MX King, which is supported by the individual workshops. Unless it's loud, you know, it doesn't really attract too much attention. Nobody looks at you when you're riding this. If you were to bling it up or put a very loud exhaust, I think people will look at you lah. I would rather if you guys wait for the 155cc version, as it shares the same engine with the MT-15 and the R15. So this is across the board for all the Kapcai bikes that is using the T150 platform. And in my conclusion, the Yamaha MX King, I would say, is for riders who basically want a cheap Kapcai lah. And with the wide range of accessories, you can really modify this, you know, to your heart's content. I mean, I really describe this as a blank canvas. You can do anything and everything you want to it. You're only limited by your imagination and money lah. And once again, thank you to the guys at Auto Exchange, Hadiy and the gang, for letting me borrow the Yamaha MX King. It's a pretty decent bike, but I probably never want to own it or ride it again. Once is enough. And yeah, do rent your bike at Auto Exchange. Don't forget to use my promo code. Do mention this to Hadiy at the office. I love Farhan Trey. And yeah, that's it for the vlog, and we will see you next one.